No excuses. The camera will work. Hi guys, this is Connie, and I just tried to read chapter 4. Actually, I didn't just try, I did it. And I thought I had it on camera, and the camera wasn't on. So now we're back to looking in the mirror, making sure the camera's still recording so that I don't get paranoid and have to read the same chapter 15 times. Ugh. And I also don't want to cut and paste it because I didn't see a very good response from when I just went through and cut and paste. So all you got was the reading. So if you like these uncut bits, continue to let me know. Give me good feedback. At least I appreciate that you're watching. Thank you. I never thought that this would be a thing, and apparently it is. So without further ado, I have my bookmark in chapter 5. And because technology and me not functioning my morning brain, that means we have to backtrack to chapter 4. And chapter 4, I will tell you ahead of time, no spoilers, but it's not very happy. And I hope this is a pretty, we got a way to go, but I hope it gets happier faster. And I'm sure it will. So, here we go. Let me come a little bit closer for you. I'm waking up, and hopefully you are enjoying. Chapter 4 of Connie Reads 8 Keys. Things get much worse. Amanda started laughing the minute I got to our locker. She made a dumb noise and imitated the thumbs up. What this time? Playing hospital? You think it's funny that I broke my thumb? I'm not sure where the guts to say something came from, but the medicine Aunt Bessie gave me, maybe it was the medicine Aunt Bessie gave me at breakfast. Amanda stopped laughing. Here, let me help you. She opened my backpack, which I had set down on the floor. She took out my paper lunch bag, which had my usual lunch in it, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and a piece of fruit, which happened to be an orange. She put it in the tall main section of the locker. Then she took my books out of my backpack and dropped them on top of my lunch. I felt sick. Sicker than when the hammer had come crashing down on my thumb. There! She gave me a fake sweet smile and handed me my empty backpack. She hung hers on the hook and picked up her books from the floor. Aren't you going to thank me for helping you? I had absolutely nothing to say. Franklin came up behind me. Let me carry your things. I nodded numbly as he collected my books and pencil case. That's very sweet, Amanda said. Retards. Then, thank God, she left. It didn't seem to bother Franklin that someone had called him a retard. What's her problem? He asked. But I was thinking, what's wrong with us? I continued to stand there while Franklin gently set my lunch on top of the pile in my locker. Even though he was helping me, I couldn't help but think some of this mess was his fault. Or most of it. It was his fault I always looked like a walking disaster, like a baby, like I couldn't take care of myself or do things myself. Some kids in the hall saw my hand and asked what happened. I told them that I broke my thumb, but left out how. They seemed worried about me. One girl even took markers and carefully drew a paisley design on the sling. Just as many kids seemed to have run into Amanda because they gave me thumbs-up gestures with goofy noises to go along with them. I hoped Franklin wouldn't mention that we got hurt playing again. It was making me crazy, listening to him talk about last night, waiting for him to slip up. When I got to language arts, I remember I hadn't done my homework. Again. I decided to talk to the teacher by myself instead of getting in trouble in front of everyone. Things would have been easier if I had just had Aunt Bessie write me a note, but I'd forgotten. So I would have to explain over and over in each class. While Franklin set our books down on our desks, I went up to talk to Mrs. Wakefield. Elise? She greeted me with a question mark, still learning our names. I nodded. What happened? I broke my thumb. I was at the hospital last night and I didn't get to do my homework. Well, she said, don't worry about it today. Just get it done when you can. I didn't move from her desk. Elise? Mrs. Wakefield asked. Are you okay? Are you in pain? I didn't know if I should tell her. if she would care or if Amanda found out what she would do to me. My locker partner, she wrecked my lunch. I'm sure it was an accident. It can be hard to share a small space like that. It wasn't an accident, but Miss Wakefield said, "Please sit down so I can start class." I sat. Diana poked me with her pencil. "Can you help me?" she asked. "I'm doing a class profile for the newspaper." "A what?" "An article about the 6th grade. I'm going to interview interesting members of our class." "You want to interview me?" I asked, feeling a little lighter. "No," she said. "I thought I'd get your advice about who to interview." I didn't answer her, as Mrs. Wakefield told us to take out our grammar books. After school, I couldn't even think about playing with Franklin. I hauled my backpack to the table in the family part of the kitchen. Would it be better to do everything for one subject and then move on, knock off being in trouble with teachers one by one? Or do all the homework for tomorrow, or at least that stuff wouldn't be late? But it would be hard to answer questions for Section 3 of Science before I did the questions for Section 1, and math would be the same story. I picked to start with Mrs. Wakefield's Get to Know You survey. Now the problem was having to use my left hand. I had nothing to weigh down the paper, and it scooched around when I tried to write. I got so frustrated that I threw my pencil. Grrr. Aunt Bessie came over. "What's the matter?" "My work looks like it was written by chickens." "What does that mean?" "That's what teachers always say to kids who write messy." Aunt Bessie smiled, as if she couldn't help it. "You mean chicken scratches?" "It's not funny." "Here," Aunt Bessie sat down. She slid the paper away from me and found a new pencil. "Your writing hand is injured, and that's difficult. I'll be your scribe." "You'll write for me?" "Sure, whatever you dictate." I hadn't realized how tight and heavy it had felt inside my chest until the feeling lifted. I answered Mrs. Wakefield's questions about what my favorite subjects were and who lived in my house with me and what I liked to read. And Aunt Bessie wrote everything down. Then we moved on to math, which was harder, because moving the pencil helps me think. Luckily, the beginning of the year review stuff isn't that hard. When Uncle Hugh came in from the barn expecting dinner, Aunt Bessie hadn't made any, and we had gotten through only 3 assignments. So Uncle Hugh made dinner. He always makes beans and rice. But it was warm and yummy, and afterward, I took my social studies book to the den to read. Aunt Bessie woke me up there later. "Go to bed, Cricket." She lifted the book from my lap. "But I only did 4 assignments." "How many do you have?" 16. 16? You can't expect to do them all tonight. You're healing. Tomorrow's another day. She cleaned and rebandaged my thumb and helped me into pajamas with a button-up shirt, the kind I never wear, really, so that it would be easier with my sling. She gave me pain medicine, and I went to bed. I never really caught up on homework. Mostly, I just sat in my classes without a clue what was going on. Every morning when I got to school, Amanda was waiting to make me miserable. She called me and Franklin names, which never seemed to bother him the way it bothered me. She wrecked my lunch, and when I told Mrs. Wakefield about it again, she didn't seem to care. She considered it part of learning to share the locker, told me that I couldn't switch, and I needed to learn to get along with my partner. It became harder and harder just to get to school. One morning, after rushing to wash my face and brush my teeth with one hand, I left with only a few minutes to catch the bus. I had to hurry, but instead, my steps got smaller and smaller, and slower and slower. By the time I got to the bus stop, nobody was there. I couldn't stand at the bus stop all day, so I turned around and went back home. When Aunt Bessie heard the front door open, she came from the kitchen to see who it was. She was already dressed in her catering clothes. "What happened?" "I missed the bus." "How did that happen?" I shrugged. I didn't get there in time. "I have a tasting this morning." Aunt Bessie seemed pretty stressed by my reappearance. She sighed. "Get in the car, I'll take you." "I'm sorry," I said. "It was an accident." That first morning, we all thought it was an accident. And that's the end of chapter 4. I certainly hope this turns a happy page sooner rather than later. Be careful with that and enjoy. Please and thank you. We got a little way to go. Bye.